Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos of motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we'd known and nobody tells you. This is your tribe for informed consent and unfiltered real talk. I'm Leah, a scrunchy nurse writing the Hot Mess Express, and I'm your girl's girl here to remind you that it's fine, we're fine, and everything's fine.
I'm Alyssa, crunchy mom who's all about organic living. I'm organized, opinionated, and your designated wingwoman in any parenting bar fight.
And I'm Tori, your ride or die chaos coordinator who will absolutely hold your baby and your secret.
And today we are going to kick off our episode with a question from one of our Momtroversial listeners. And so Alyssa's going to read it off and then we will give some insight and something I want to plug at the beginning, and I'll plug again once we're done answering it, is also for any listeners who also have better tips or ideas for how to answer this question. I would love for you guys to send us a DM at Momtroversial Podcast on Instagram, and we can share those tips on our next episode. So Alyssa, I'm going to let you kick it off.
All right. This is from one of our super fans. We love you and appreciate you. I'm having my first baby overseas in Korea. I don't have the best relationship with my in-laws. How do I navigate with my husband having his parents over after the baby is here? My mom will be here for 2 to 3 weeks, so it's fair for his family to come right after, but I don't feel comfortable with that given the track record of behavior when I've been around them. This is also not the first grandchild on either side. So we all had babies in Korea. Yeah. So that's kind of helpful, but we all had second, third babies in Korea, which I feel like is a little different from the first baby. So with my mother-in-law's listening, so Michelle, love you. With Reagan, when she was born, we were and something that I was really certain about is Ryan only had the 3 weeks of paternity leave, not the 12 weeks that the military gets now. So I was like, I want these first 3 weeks to just be us. And they pretty much were, and it was great. My sister, mom, and mother-in-law came for a few days right when she was born. And we actually had them stay a little bit longer because we were like, wait, we have a whole human now and we're not sleeping. And when Reagan was about 6 weeks old, my in-laws came, and it was pretty fine. I had gotten a hold of breastfeeding at that point, and it was nice to kind of have that retreat with Reagan because I was having to share her more than I was used to. And I probably honestly didn't stick up for myself enough when I wanted to have her, because at the end of the day, she's my baby and she's my new baby. And if I want her, I get her. But this was my first time, so I didn't necessarily have that mentality, but you totally should because it's your baby. There was for sure a learning curve. There was a learning curve, when we were engaged and right when we got married. And then we kind of like worked through some things, got to know each other, especially specifically with my mother-in-law, I think just because, more or less she was the woman in Ryan's life for, I don't know, how old is he? 29 years. And then all of a sudden I was. So we had to kind of learn how to work through that. We did, but then there was definitely a little bit of a regression once Reagan was born. I think mostly because she told me, she's just trying to kind of learn. Like all of a sudden we have not that we weren't a real family before we had Reagan, but like once we had Reagan, I think it just more hit her that like we were like a real separate family. And that just, I'm sure it just doesn't feel great as a boy mom. Can't relate yet. Hopefully one day. But so we had to work through some things, just like basic, like, hey, these are our decisions and you need to respect them. And the way that it worked was Ryan had to really kind of stand up to her and say, no, this is how things are going. We asked you to do it this way. You need to take care of her this way. And then I had to back that up. I cannot express enough that when possible, and in the military, it's not always possible, but when possible, your husband needs to stand up to his family for you and your family, like your little family. And you guys need to be on the same page and you need to communicate, and vice versa with the girl's family. But I think it tends to be a little easier that way. And I think it's probably because guys are just a little more chill than we are in general. Maybe less caring about the things, less attuned to family dynamics, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, but that was like the big thing, is that we were direct, we were firm. It's not that we didn't compromise, but we, on things that mattered to us, like for me, schedules, sleep training, how they go down, that kind of thing. Like there was no room, it wasn't a discussion. It was, these are our rules, we are the parents, this is what we're going to do. So just having direct conversations before, even beforehand, is what I would do. And afterwards is, I just, you can't dance around it. You just can't. If you are having mother-in-law issues now, the only way to fix them is to not dance around it and to just come at it and say, listen, this is how it's going to be, and we want you to be a part of this, but you have to respect us. There is no question there. There is not, will you please respect us? It's not, you
Period.
have to respect us, and we will respect you. We are not asking for what we aren't willing to give, but you have to give it. We're adults, not children anymore. So, and it's great now.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's something that I've learned from you that I've been working on applying. But something I think that's a big thing of being direct. Set expectations, set boundaries, have those conversations now with your husband, and then be direct in those conversations. And I think something that is important and that like I've been learning at therapy too to realize is we come from different families. We were raised differently than our husbands were. Our families have different dynamics, and we need to understand and respect that. And so, for example, like I come from a family where like I can be very direct and just to the point with both of my parents. If they do something that offends me that I'm not okay with, I can just straight up say, Mom, like that wasn't cool. That hurt my feelings. Like, and we can have a conversation about it. Travis doesn't come from like as direct. Like they're not, his family just doesn't really do a lot of like confrontation or conflict. And there's nothing wrong with that. They just handle things differently. And so you have to also understand that and keep that background. And that means basically what Alyssa was saying is you have to step up and sometimes you need to be direct for yourself because you are building that relationship. And in order for you to build that relationship with your in laws, to be able to have these conversations, you need to open up the conversational pathway, which means sometimes it needs to be you to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want for our family. And then your husband can back you up too. But something that I've had to really lean on is yes, when push comes to shove, on big things, Travis will step in and initiate those conversations. But I also need to be willing to have that conversation myself. So that way there is an actual relationship being built. Because depending on where you met your spouse, like I know we talked about this in one of our previous episodes, Tori and Alyssa, both of their in laws live kind of nearish to each other. For Travis and I, the only encounters we've had with each other's family has been since we started dating in college and then after we got married. I think I had two or three interactions with his family before we got married. And then since then, it has always been us together. So how are we going to build that relationship if I'm not being direct and having direct conversations and always trying to skirt? So that's something that I think is huge that Alyssa said that she's taught me that I really would want to emphasize of it's okay to have hard conversations at the end of the day, till death do we part. And so because of that, his family's always going to be there, whether or not their feelings may initially get hurt by your directness. In the long run, it's better for your relationship because you're building a relationship regardless of the type of encounter it is.
Well, and from their perspective too, like you can't hold them to expectations that you haven't told them about. And whether or not those
That's so
expectations,
fair.
you might feel that they're just common sense expectations, like that's just a decent human being type of thing. It might be different because it's a different family and they don't see things maybe or even just interpret things the same way. So like that's where the direct conversations is, to have the clear expectations that you can then hold them to so that everyone's aware. Okay, sorry, Tori, all you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with everything that you guys said, and I think you made some really good points. I did want to highlight a couple of things that this person specifically said. Like to me, and here's the unfilteredness of all of this, right? When when your mother-in-law, father-in-law, maybe both, are saying that it's not fair that they don't get to come, that's a level of entitlement that I just don't appreciate. And I
Amen.
just think
Yes.
like, I'm sorry, no. Like
Mm.
it's not fair. Like suck it up. You had your chance. This was your I know that's like that's my mean unfiltered thing to say right now. That
But it's an
verbiage to
important
me screams
reality.
it really is it
Yeah.
screams entitled grandparent who's going to bulldoze over you and all of your boundaries because they feel entitled to. And so if you feel that, something else that you specifically said was that if you don't feel comfortable with them coming, period, set that boundary. If you feel
Mhm.
more comfortable when your baby's 6 months, when they're a year, whatever, you need to set that boundary for you. And obviously
Put
that
him
might
in a
be some
hotel.
compromise between you and your husband.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an option too. Honestly though, I feel like some people here that would get really expensive for 2 to 3 weeks.
Mhm.
I would be sure if that is a thing,
Oh,
like
at their
make sure that
expense.
they know that that is their expense. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I would say like it doesn't have to be fair. Like this is like what
Mhm.
this is your baby. This is your first baby. Period. That's
Mhm.
your baby, your husband's baby. This is not your mother-in-law's baby. This is not your mother's baby. This is like
Mhm.
period. So I
You know
think
what's also not
we get
fair?
so
Birthing a
like people
baby out of your
pleasy.
vagina while your husband watches. That's not fair either.
When all he had to do
Fair.
was have fun to get here.
Thanks a lot, guys. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
um,
sorry. I'm
no, but I
done.
just think like no, just set your boundaries. Like boundaries are your best friend right now. And just
Mhm.
determine like have a talk with yourself, have a talk with your husband, and decide what that is. Is your boundary that you don't want them to come at all? Period. Okay, bye. They're not coming. Like listen to your instincts. I don't know what behavior you've seen, but I can imagine it. What track record that they have.
Mhm.
I can imagine it. And yeah, I don't mess around with that. Like I'm a big fat no. Like God forbid my mother-in-law ever hears this. I don't think she'll ever hear this podcast, but just in case, Karen, I'm sorry and I do love you. But after I had my son, so she full disclosure, she came after I had my first son. She came to Germany. She stayed with Hannah. And we had a little bit different of a relationship dynamic then. I think I would have not been okay with that after having Charlie. So, things change too. I think it depends on your relationship status, your hormone count, and just generally how you feel about life and things. I didn't feel comfortable with anyone except for who did come to watch Hannah and John when I had Charlie, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I will say again, Karen, if you're listening to this, I know that you try really hard and I appreciate you for that. But not everybody, everybody, what Leah said, everybody's dynamic is different. Everybody's family, how they communicate, if they respect you or not. To me, this screams entitlement. And I think sometimes you got to shut it down with with a big fat no.
I
No, you're
would
not
say
coming.
also,
Or no,
though,
you're not coming until.
say it's like your husband saying, well, it's fair if my parents come. This is a huge thing for him, too. And he wants to share it with his mom and dad.
Fair.
So
Mm.
if so you do want to be sensitive to those feelings while you are the one that is going through the change, and it should probably absolutely be at the minimum a 60-40 decision. He does need to be considered. So you need to, I would work towards a compromise that you both can live with. My sister-in-law came when Reagan was born at like, I think she was like 12 weeks old, give or take. And she was still such a baby then. So, maybe it's just you need time, you know? Um, and
Yeah.
and they can still come and see a baby at 12 weeks old. So,
Or 6 months.
something like that.
Well, and so
True.
here would be my thoughts on this explicitly. And I have had conversations with Travis about this since I saw this question to get his opinion as the husband. We kind of went through something like this with our first, where it felt like we were trying to do what was fair. But in hindsight, it ended up being more of a detriment to me than anything. Like hindsight, I wouldn't have either of our parents, honestly, have been there with our first for at least 2 months or until Travis was done with his leave and going back to work. I wish that it would have been just us and me had time to just truly bond with Declan instead of feeling like I needed to entertain, even though like my mom is so chill.
Mhm.
And I know that that's not at all what she wanted, but just having somebody who's like not part of our immediate new family unit in our house, there's just this
Mhm.
innateness in me of I feel like I need to host you. So if it were me, I wish
Yes.
I wouldn't have had anyone until Travis went back. So I wouldn't have felt any type of need to host or to show up, especially with our first. With our second, it's different. I wish we would have had one set of parents and then the other set of parents like immediately after because we had two. Like I had a newborn and a toddler who needed attention. And that would have been so helpful for us to be able to focus on just Ella and have grandparents with Declan. But I think as from the husband's perspective, this fair, I don't know if it's necessarily his mom or his family saying it's fair, or him saying he's trying to be fair to prevent conflict. I agree with Tori. Boundaries need to be set hard and fast because if you don't set them hard and fast, you're creating an expectation. And at the end of the day, leave and cleave. But I also agree with Alyssa
Yeah.
that we need to respect like that's still like the other set of grandparents. And so we need to hear what your husband is saying and asking for at the same time. But from my husband's perspective, he said along the lines of like at first, when you have your first, you think it needs to be fair. And that's
Mhm.
what's most important. But what you don't realize is if you, as the woman who are having the baby, feel like you need and want your mother to be here for that long. And being overseas, that makes it different because nobody comes here for less than that length of time,
2
anyways.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Travis said he's like, there's something different you don't realize until you are in the moment and you have this newborn that, like, as much as I love you, there are things your mom can do for you that I can't, as you are sleep deprived, hormonal, breastfeeding and whatnot. So, like, if you want your mom there, that's fine. Your mom can be here. And then whenever you're ready or we are ready, then my parents will come. They don't need to be here because the person who really went through this transition is you, right?
Mhm.
You're the one who's had the baby. You're the one who, and Travis said this too, again, you don't realize this until you're in it. If you're
Yeah.
breastfeeding, you're the one waking up at night. You're the one
Mhm.
not fully sleeping. You're the one doing all of this. So if you are the one who says, I need 2 or 3 months before we have other family,
Mhm.
then Trav was saying, then knowing what I know now, that's okay. And plus, if we're all going to be honest here, babies are super cute, but babies aren't, quote, entertaining to extended
Yeah.
family or responsive to you until they're a couple months old. So
At least,
after
yeah.
Ella was born with us living here, my mom came when Ella was September, October, November, almost 4 months old. My mom came to visit for Declan's third or second birthday. Travis's parents didn't come visit until April. So Ella was like 7 or 8 months old with our second. Versus when we had Declan, my mom was there for 10 days. Then Travis's parents were there for a week. And then my parents came back for another week. Like they were all
Mhm.
there, boom, 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 boom. Versus I feel everyone else was more content. His parents were so much more content with the time they got with Ella the second time around than what they got with Declan initially, because by the time they came now, Ella wasn't in like a stranger danger stage yet. Like, so she was still okay meeting them, but she was also responsive and giggly and smiley and doing things. And
Mhm.
so I think that's something to share with your husband to keep in mind that everybody wins if you wait a little bit. If that's what you feel
Yeah.
like in your heart, because you're going to be anxious and stressed. So let's still honor his parents, but maybe just wait a little bit longer. Again, that's what Travis said too. And I think if this is a conversation, which I feel like it is because this was how it was for us, that is between you guys and him just feeling like he needs to hear from another man who
Yes.
has been through this already to
Because it's
tell
kind
him
of going to
this.
be a trust thing for him at this point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's just got to trust that someone else has gone through it and like make it someone
Mm-hmm.
that he trusts. Like, if you
Yeah.
have those people in your lives, if you don't, you know, force him to be friends with one of your friends that has a husband that you trust. Go get
Mm-hmm.
dinner with Leah and Trav.
Yeah. 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 Literally, let me know. Hit me up. I would be happy to have Travis talk to him because it really, until you're in this situation, you don't realize. And at the end of the day, you need to be mentally okay. And there
Mhm.
is nothing as nerve-wracking as having a baby overseas for one, having your first baby for two, and then feeling this anxiety and stress in your chest of having to host in a situation you're uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And waiting, I think, is fine, but you still do need to respect your husband and find that compromise. And if the compromise is he is going to take leave the entire 2 to 3 weeks that they are here,
Oh, yeah.
and he'll be there with you, but you don't feel comfortable with them in your house or whatever, then yeah, maybe the compromise is they need to stay somewhere. Or your compromise is that you're going to be on leave the entire 2 to 3 weeks that they are here. And here are my
So he can
boundaries.
do the
Here's what I am and
entertaining.
am
Yeah.
correct. Right. And so here's my boundaries. Here's what I am and am not okay with. And like, that's the compromise. And you still let them come, but he's going to be home the entire time. And you set your is and is not okay. Um, so yeah, he needs to
And
talk to another
again,
man who's been through it.
yeah.
And
Well, before they book their
yeah.
tickets, make these expectations clear to them. This isn't just a conversation between you and your
Mm-hmm.
husband. A conversation clearly needs to be had with them before they are invited over here. And if your
Mm-hmm.
husband,
Yeah.
will just assume that your husband is okay with that because that's the reasonable thing. And so he needs to
Mm-hmm.
initiate that conversation. Whether or not you are in the conversation or not, I think is more up to you and him. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, he needs to 100% initiate that conversation, and you two need to be on the same page about what the heck conversation he's even initiating in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, clear expectations,
And
or
one
else it's
more,
just not fair.
yeah, I agree. And I just, one more thing, I feel passionate about affirming, like what Tori was saying. If you're not comfortable with something, it is okay to say no and or have the hard conversation. Like, I know if you're anything like me, the hard conversation, I feel so icky in my chest just thinking about it because I don't like
Yep.
having uncomfortable conversations with people I'm not comfortable with. Having a hard conversation, even with like my mom or my husband, still makes me anxious sometimes because I'm such a people pleaser in nature. But the reality is, it is only going to create bitterness in your heart if you just accept something you're really not comfortable with. And that bitterness is going to build with every interaction from this point on, which is then going to affect your child's relationship with the grandparents. So if you're not comfortable with something, say no and or create the situation, have the hard conversation to make it something you can be okay with for the sake of your children. Because how freaking blessed are they that they have two sets of living grandparents who want to
Yeah.
spend time with them? Like, that's a huge
Mm-hmm.
blessing. So now let's just take with that in mind, create the walls and build the house that this relationship is okay in and can thrive in, where everybody will get to win.
Yeah. I just wanted to add a couple of like supporting things for this person in case they're, if they're questioned about anything. Something that you mentioned is about like your mental health, about her mental health specifically, is that, if she's not okay, the baby is not going to be okay. Baby feeds so
Uh-huh.
much off of mom, especially in the first 12 weeks, six, actually, I mean, like truly up to like the first year, like, and beyond. But I mean, like it's like this primal, like you're fully connected for the first 3 months. I mean, the fourth trimester, enough said,
Mm-hmm.
like, so I think like you have to put this in the position of, if you are not okay, the baby won't be okay either. Your milk supply is going to be less if you're stressed. If you're stressed, you're not going to prioritize nutrition. you're not going to be able to take care of yourself well, if you're having to take care of other people, like, so these are all things that are really, really important that I would very much assume is important to your spouse as well as it is to you. If you have anything else, like if you have specifics, you want to talk to us about that, like if you want to give us extra details, you want to shake down the whole conversation, like let us know. We're here.
We'll script it
We got
out.
you, girl.
And for anyone
Let's
listening,
go.
yeah, right. Anyone listening who has other tips and tricks, who's been in these situations,
Yes.
again, we'd love for you to shoot us a DM at Momtroversial Podcast on Instagram in response to this question, because that would be super helpful to share for everybody. Because if you're military or not, navigating in-laws is hard. Regardless, because unless it's somebody you grew up knowing their family already, again, two families, two backgrounds, and then you and your spouse lead to become one, but you still have these two families, two backgrounds, two expectations that are pushing on you while you're trying to figure out your own family dynamic. And no matter what, it's hard because you literally go from you're still a child, but now you are your own mom, dad, matriarch, patriarch, and those are hard transitions to navigate for anybody. So anybody who has any tips, we would love to share those in response to this. And yeah, okay, well, talking about hard and talking about things that are a little bit more complicated in military life, today we are kind of finishing up talking about military life chapter before we go into some other topics, talking about something that I just felt passionate about this week. And so we're kind of pulling an audible here. And we're talking about some of the mental and emotional struggles that come from being a military spouse and the changes and challenges that we walk through, because I don't think it gets talked about enough. I know a lot of fellow military women like us, we know it exists, right? Because we live it together. But especially for our civilian listeners, and when I say civilian, I mean people who are not in the military and or married to military, I don't think the reality of some of the things that we walk through and what life just is for us is talked about enough. And so we just wanted to have a conversation today talking about some of those struggles and just being honest and vulnerable. And then hopefully it'll help someone else. And if nothing else, it's a good venting session.
Yeah,
So
we love it.
we're going to start off this episode with thanks. What is one mental or emotional struggle that has been hitting you hard or has hit you hard in the past as a military spouse?
I mean, how much time do you have? I'm just kidding.
Approximately 30 minutes left.
I'm just kidding.
I have
mean,
20
but I'm not
minutes,
kidding.
but if you want to keep going, I can just peace out.
Shoot, Bob. Sorry, I thought it was 30.
No, so David has been in since 2012. So we've been in a hot minute. There's been a lot of struggles. He's deployed, and we went through 6 years of infertility, and we've lived in 3 different countries / continents as military. We've moved cross country, and it's been a lot. Like I feel like for me, it's kind of hard to nail down one. I just think like it seems like in this life, like it's because the Army is a living, breathing. And I would say this, I say Army because that's what David's in, but I would say this for every military thing. But I can't think of the word right now. All the military sectors, branches. Thank you. Oh my gosh. All the branches definitely feel this. They're living. So I feel like the only thing constant is change, and like the way you can, like the way that change comes at you. There's the military stuff, and then there's the outside home stuff. There's your marriage stuff. There's your, interpersonal relationship stuff. Like the military does add like this extra aspect onto the stress. But I can't really narrow mine down. I just think it's been a constant ebb and flow over the last 13 years of a lot of different things.
I think me and my type A personality have the biggest issue. Honestly, I've you're going to laugh, kind of let go of the control aspect of where we're going and that kind of thing a little bit. Really, Ryan's going to laugh. But like, well, like, we got orders to Arizona when I really thought we were going to Virginia. It took me a couple of days of just like kind of working through the shock of it, but like, okay, fine, moving on, whatever, great. We're going to Arizona. But like for me, the transition periods are so hard. So far, this transition period, at least on the flip side of moving, has been a little bit easier because we moved to Virginia for a few months and like we have our own space. So it just feels like we're moving twice, which is fine. We do that all the time. Like I can move. But it's like the period before we left in Korea where it's like I have to prep for household goods, but I don't want my house to be just like a complete wreck, but it kind of has to be, and that stresses me out. And KK's kind of ready to potty train, but I don't have the time and like mental space, honestly, to dedicate to it. And I don't want to potty train her too early anyways, but like the girl's like pretty much poop potty trained on her own, which is weird, but like can't get her to pee on the potty, at least of her own initiative to save my life. But like there's just like all the little things that go into all of these transitions and like it's that is exhausting to me mentally. And I just like want to just ignore it all and lay in my bed and read my book and just pretend it doesn't exist. But then future Alyssa hates past Alyssa for that. So like that's a big thing, I think. And just the mental load also when we were in Korea of just like I just took my kids away from everything, like all the family that they know, and like the only way they know this family is like through FaceTime. And that's a great way to know family. Like I know logically in my brain, like that is the best case scenario. But I'm like, why did I do that? I didn't really do it. The army did. But like just that, like I do feel a little sad that we don't just get to be like a normal family all the time and just get to live 30 minutes away from grandparents. Like these 4 months, I think are going to be so special. They already have been. But then, we're going to move to Arizona across the country. So closer than Korea, but far.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off of that, I don't think people realize, other spouses and dependos realize, but I don't think other people realize how when you move every 2 to 3 years, one thing people say is they talk about like how much the military pays for, and they're like, oh, the military pays for you to move, they pay for this, they pay for that. But people don't realize the mental load of actually, we spend a lot of money out of pocket every single time we move. All of those fine details are not always covered. Things as simple as my freaking fridge. Every time we move, having to fully replenish sauces, having to fully replenish staples and things like that. Or when you talk about moving, and some people do better about this than I do. I'm going to admit I'm not perfect. But I struggle with the moving of there are things I want to do. For example, I want to do a garden. I would love to grow some of my own vegetables or herbs. I would love to have chickens. Oh my gosh, I want chickens so bad, and go get my eggs in the morning and then make me some eggies. Oh, dream. But I'm not going to invest in doing any of that when I know I'm going to be moving in 2 years. When I know that I'm going to put in all of this work to creating this space, if it's a house we bought and a space that I can't do that, to then just pick it up and have to start over, to me, that it just sucks. Like my life and energy out that, so I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. And so not being able to fully, I was telling one of my friends this the other day, sometimes it feels like as a spouse, you can't fully make your house a home. We make it homey enough for it to say like, that's home, but it's not fully a home where I want to be. And I'm okay spending a ton of time at, not feeling the need to get out and go do things, if that makes sense. We
I
were
think
having this
Korea is
conversation.
like worse for that sort of thing because, for context, off post, it's pretty much all wallpaper walls. You can't hang anything up on the walls. On post, you can only hang it if you can do command hook. And so you're really limited. You can't paint here. You know, Korea specifically comes with its own set of challenges in that way. And also, you can only bring 50% of your total household goods here. You have to put the other half in storage. And so, you know, you don't have all of your furniture. You have like hodgepodge, half government furniture, half, you know, like probably 10% or 20% your stuff. And, you know, there's like your stuff peppered throughout. That's been a challenge here for me as well, because I just felt like I feel like up until this point, I've been able to do as much as humanly possible to make it homey and like a place that I want to be in, comfortable in. But like here, I just have not been able to really like attach myself to this house because it's like, you know, nothing matches. And I don't know. I'm not a type A. I'm more like type C, but the type A part of my type C-ness is like everything like flowing together in the house, and it's just doesn't work for me.
Well,
I feel like that
even
attachment
everything
thing.
here is gonna have to get shipped back to the States when you go back.
Mhm.
So I would love a playground for my kids, a swing set in the yard where they can climb up and go down and they can swing. But I'm not gonna go spend a couple $100s at Costco to do that, knowing I'm either gonna have to give it away or try to sell it to make something back when we leave, or I'm gonna have to wait for shipping. So
Yeah.
things like that are my big things because I love being outside with my kids and I want to take the space we have outdoors to make it a true place where they can play and I can enjoy just watching them be kids. But because of we're gonna have to either figure out how to get it back or we're gonna have to wait on it or whatever. We don't want to spend a ton of money on that stuff. And I think that's something that's especially unique of overseas because of the length of time it will take
Yeah.
to get things.
Yeah, or you're
So,
spending a ton of money or losing a ton of money in order to have it for a short term or to
yeah.
replace it again when you move again.
I remember
Or
prepping
to
my
be
household
broken and
goods.
then you have to fight to get them to fix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I will say, which I didn't realize a lot of people don't know this, like the military, it's full replacement value. So unless you lose all of your household goods in a fire, you can make a lot of money on um that, like on them breaking stuff. Like when we moved from Tennessee to Oklahoma, I swear almost every single one of our front pieces of furniture came off. They went on the truck whole and they came off in like pieces. I was like, what is happening? But we got full replacement value, not what it did cost to buy it, but what it would cost us to buy it now. And then I went on Facebook Marketplace and we made like 2 grand off that move. So, you know, if you're willing to put in the work, you can actually make some good money off of their mistakes. But also like the attachment side that you guys were kind of touching at, I think that like it is hard. Even like I am an extrovert. I am an extrovert. And it's hard to start over every 2 to 3 years, but even like I think it's a little bit easier with kids, but also I feel more of a responsibility to make an effort with my kids because I want them to see that they can start over and have friends that they love again too. Like I know like Ryan now, Ryan grew up, his dad was army, and he'll pretty much the only friends he makes are the friends that I make for him through my friends. Um, because he's like, I don't know, that's just like a lot of work and I got to go to work and stuff and we're going to leave anyways. Like he has that mentality. And I think to an extent, like you're going to have that mentality no matter what. But specifically, I just want to work hard to make sure my kids have, I don't know, less of it, I guess, or like understand how important, not that he doesn't, but just it's just something I've been thinking about now that Reagan understands that her friends are leaving or she's leaving, that kind of thing. I want her to understand that we might be leaving for now, but you know, we're probably gonna see some of these special friends again, you know, not everyone, but we'll see them and we'll make new friends and it'll be great and that kind of thing so that I guess the attachment issues aren't as prevalent or just that she feels empowered that she can do it, honestly.
Feel that in my bones. Yeah. I feel that in my bones because I'm extroverted as well. I draw energy from like good quality interacting with other people, especially when it's a couple friends and time together. I love parties. Those are my favorite. We just went to a neighborhood birthday party today. But I have been struggling internally of it feels like it's like sucking the life out of me or the extrovert out of me. I just don't have the energy to want to put in to building friendships over and over and over again. In Korea in particular is hard because it is all military relationships for the most part here. And people are leaving every single year. So you will meet somebody, you'll click, you'll get close, and then they're PCSing. And even though you still have other people, it's just hard and it's
Yeah.
tiring because you go through it's almost like speed dating over and over and
Yeah.
over again because once you find somebody, they leave and you gotta okay, let me go back to these Facebook groups and go hang out with all these people and see if we're gonna click. And I was telling Trav, it's funny, he was annoyed with me when we first met in college because I was too much for him. Too big personality, talked too much, too
Ryan
outgoing.
too.
And we were talking about how that's just not me anymore. I'm still big when I'm comfortable, right? My personality is still out there and my own person when I'm comfortable with you. If I don't know you now, instead of walking up to you and being able to talk to a brick wall, I just don't anymore because it's just tiring. But that's somewhere that you're good at that I need to do better about. And especially with the kids, for my kids, I need to do better too. Declan today on the way to church, he said, Mommy, KK at church today? And
Aw.
I was like, no, KK's never coming to this church again. He's in America now. And he said, oh, okay. It was really sad, really
Poor
pitiful. So I'm like,
buddy.
okay, I need to go make new, like, not make new friends. He did then ask for baby Charlie, but I was like, we'll see baby Charlie because we went to the later service. So that's his like
We
default now as he falls back onto baby Charlie. He's like, baby
Aw.
Charlie, what baby Charlie doing?
Yeah, we haven't been going because of the kids for my big kids. They don't have kids church
Mhm.
until like August 10th, so we haven't been going, but we'll be back as soon as kids
Okay.
There's
church.
like borderline no point in going to
If
church
Defi
if you
lets
have
me
to
put
have your
him
kids with you. Like, it's so hard.
Bro,
Um,
that's like a totally different thing I was thinking about today that actually really frustrates me of why do I feel so uncomfortable bringing my kid into a church service and him making any type of noise?
Oh, see, for me, it's
Why
just
do
like
I
I
feel
can't
uncomfortable?
focus.
Because
Like, I'm not even paying
well, I
attention to
can't
everyone
focus
around.
because I'm worried about him making noise or distracting people.
I mean, I
Or
think that
distracting
boils
me.
down to like denominational background. I think like
Yeah.
certain denominations are like very like not accepting of that. But I had an army chaplain tell me one time, he's like, we're army chaplains. We are trained to give battlefield like my brain is
Sermons.
totally yes, sermons. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm losing all. I've got total mom brain tonight. He's like, we're trying to give battlefield sermons. If we can't do it through a baby crying, then what are we even doing? And I just appreciated that
Good
so
point.
much. But
Good point.
as a parent, you're worried about, am I disrupting anyone else's experience? And like, like what Alyssa said, like, I'm not really getting anything out of it. I think the only positive thing is like you're just showing your kid that you show up to church, which is no small
Hmm.
thing. That is a big thing. But I think you have to just like, is the juice worth the squeeze? How much are they really going to like, how much are they at this age, at their current ages right now? How much are they really going to be like, oh, my mom took us to church or my parents took us to church every Sunday, no matter what, whether there's kids' church or whatever? Like, are they really going to remember at this age? Probably not. I'd say Hannah is probably the only one. She's 6. She's probably the only one that would actually be like starting to remember
Hmm.
at this time. So
Honestly,
Yeah,
I think church is more for me
so yeah,
than
I
for
don't.
them at
That
this
is
point.
that's tough
It's a good
too.
foundation.
Finding a church
yeah.
community. It's like that could be like a whole episode, but
Well, it's just the community in general, and something I've really been struggling with, and I recommend to anybody therapy. I started going after Ella was
12 out of
born,
10.
and you can even go to military family life counselors for free at whatever military installation you're at if you don't want to do a traditional therapist. But we were talking about it this week, and one of the big feelings I was having is just tired of feeling like you're doing life alone. So, for example, my civilian friends, and they have babies, they get pregnant, they go through pregnancy with all of their friends and all of their family. They get to do the bajillion and one different baby showers with every single community they have. Then they have a baby and they literally have family or friends come over so they can take a nap. They have a second baby and they literally can send their first child away to grandma and grandpa's house down the street or whatever to just spend time,
And
or
they have
a
a
first birthday
babysitter.
party. They have a babysitter so they can go on dates with their husbands. They have one of my friends who we were talking about birthday parties because I was turning one in a couple weeks and she was trying to decide if she was going to have one or not. And then I'm over here internally imploding because I'm like, well, I'm not going to have one because, me, Travis, Declan, Tori, Hannah, and Johnny, like, I'm not going to do a big party because everybody just like we've had a huge PCS season and everybody just left. So it's not the if I should or should not. It's the we can't do some of these things for Declan. We didn't do a party because we had nobody in San Antonio. And I think that that's a very real thing that a lot of people walk through. And that my heart really goes out to our viewer who's experiencing her first pregnancy overseas in Korea because our military dependents and friends that we make are great, but it's just still so different than what our civilian counterparts experience. And I don't think people truly acknowledge that. The fact that as
Or
military
even
wives and moms,
understand.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the hardship of, I mean, postpartum was freaking hard with Declan. It was so hard. And I did it alone. Besides Travis, but I did it alone because we lived 12 hours from my family, 20 hours from his, had no like community. And I think that that's something that's important to just acknowledge so people can feel seen and feel heard. Cause I never felt it felt freeing when I was talking about it at therapy. And my therapist was like, that's hard. That's really hard. And you did that.
Dang,
I
that
was like,
validation though.
that's what I'm saying. Feeling validated. You're not crazy. It is really freaking hard, and other people don't get it. And when she said that, I was like, so I
I feel like
definitely recommend the family life counselors and chaplains. You can even talk to chaplains as well.
yeah, I see a chaplain for therapy and have for the last 2.5 years, and he's wonderful. So I've something to just kind of like put in a nutshell of everything that we're talking about. I feel like we often mourn a life that we don't get to have. There's a lot of amazing things about being in the military. Like there's a lot of perks, there's a lot of benefits. You can always look on the bright side. So I'm not trying to put this like down in the dumps sort of like thing, but we do spend, not all of our time or even a considerable amount of time, but I do feel like we spend a lot of time mourning what our friends have, what we want, but we can't have, time with grandparents, time with our high school friends, like whatever it is. I feel like we really do just, we make the best of what we have. And we build these communities, we build families away from family. And like, it's really beautiful actually. Like the military life can be really beautiful, but it's like we're also mourning a loss simultaneously. And I think that's a really unique experience that we go through.
Yeah, that's good. So this week, Alyssa's back in the States, and that's part of what spurred this. I know Tori and I are going through withdrawal right now
We
and
are.
building resilience because you don't build more resilience anywhere in the world than you do in the military.
Facts.
So we say those things to say you're not alone if you are a military spouse and you've struggled with it. And
Talk about it.
we'll have Ryan plug those resources of the MFLACs, which is military life counselors, chaplains, free resources, and TRICARE covers therapy. 10 out of 10 would recommend because it is hard. And you can't pour from an empty cup, especially if you're a mom.
Yeah.
And for our friends who aren't military, hopefully you understand us a little better. Send your military friends a text, tell them that they're doing great, that you love them, and just to love them as much as you can from afar, because it really is. It can be really hard. So we're going to do a quick Momtroversial moment from Alyssa, and then she'll have to hop off, and Tori and I can share ours. Every week we do a Momtroversial moment where we share those parenting stories that make us laugh, cry, or just say, yep, that's mom life. And Alyssa has a phenomenal one this week that I really want her to get to share before Tori and I, go into ours, and then we'll let Alyssa go.
Okay, so yesterday, my days are still in, I don't know, fluid. Yesterday, Reagan, she woke up from her nap and she had her baby doll. Dolly, normal, that's fine. She comes out, she goes, Mommy, I found baby Jesus. Shows me her dolly. I was like, oh, great. Hi, baby Jesus. Cool. Love it. And she goes, I was like, I need you to go potty. Okay. Can you please hold baby Jesus? She needs to stay awake. And I was like, okay, just so you know, baby Jesus is a boy. That's like, Jesus is a boy. And she goes, well, my baby Jesus is a girl. And I was like, okay. Okay, so I don't know. We'll explore that later, I suppose. But
That's
Reagan's
so
baby Jesus is
funny.
a girl. Yeah, FYI. But yeah,
I
all
feel
right.
like
I
I've
love you
heard
all.
this, like something that you've said, like about other stuff. Like I feel like I've heard that in you, like
The baby
about different topics.
Jesus.
Not baby Jesus, but just like, oh, well, my thing is different and that's okay. So it's like her saying, well, my baby Jesus is a girl and that's okay.
True.
Like,
And that's
Her
okay.
baby Jesus is a
She's just
girl,
channeling
but
her mom.
her baby doll was wearing pink. So like
Yeah,
I can
that's
see it. Yeah.
in her
All right. I
defense.
love you
It
all.
makes
in
sense.
her defense, yeah. I love
Love
you.
you. Bye. So I would say, I don't know, this week has been a whirlwind for us because we were just going through it at the beginning of the week. I was emotional. Deck was emotional. Actually, I know what it is. My moment. We had our lawn people come to cut our yard this week, and I didn't know they were coming at 7 a.m. Because when they showed up, and I had all of our toys and stuff in the yard that I had to move, but I had just gotten Declan and Ella up, sat them down at the table to do breakfast, and Ella's strapped into her high chair. I'm having to run outside because he's starting to mow the yard, and we have the playhouse, balls, dog poop. I have to get all of this stuff out of the yard for them to actually follow through with the cutting it.
Yeah.
And I knew when Ella saw me walk out of the house, she was going to start crying. And in my head, this sounds awful. I was like, she's just going to have to deal until I get this done real quick. And I'll be back. She's strapped in, 5-point harnessed.
Yeah.
The girl's not going anywhere, but I know I just know she's not going to be happy. And I'm hearing her cry while I'm doing the yard, and Declan came outside. He said, Mommy, what are you doing? And I told him that I was cleaning the yard, and I said, can you go check on Sissy? And he said, yeah. And I finished cleaning the yard, and I come back inside, and he has a bag of strawberries. And he said, Mommy, Sissy will cry. She just wants some more strawberries. And he's giving her strawberries on her.
My gosh.
Taking care of her.
That's
She's just eating them happy as a clam. And I'm like, are you 2.5 or 10? I don't know. And it made my heart really happy because he just started taking care of her. He sees me do it when she cries, give her food, especially in the morning and when she's in her high chair. And the fact that he just knew and started to do to make her happy, that just made my heart want to explode out of my chest. And this was coming down off of us having had several just rough days of him and his feels and lots of fits, that when he did that, I was just, it's my baby. that's my sweet boy. So that would be
That's the
ours.
fruits of your labor right there. That is what that's goals. I need you to know that. That's goals. Every parenting thing that I've ever read has said like you have to model the behavior for your children to be able to learn it. So
Mm.
obviously you're modeling the right behavior. So everything that you're so proud of him for, you should be proud of yourself for too, because he only knows it because he's seen you do it.
That's
It's
so
true.
good. Ugh,
It
I
really is.
love
I
when
love
you
that.
come at me with these facts from everything you're learning with your schooling because it makes me feel so that validation. It's just so
Validated. Yeah.
validating. Freaking got it. We got this.
Yeah, we do. We totally got this. Well, speaking of school, I know this isn't like a mom-traversal moment, but I did do this all while momming my children. I am officially done with my degree.
Let's go. I'm so proud of you. And share with the
Thanks.
viewers, what is your degree? So that way they'll
My
know.
degree is bachelor's in human development and family studies. And I'd say 90+% of my course load has been on child development. So
And she's done
I'm
it
here
while
for this.
raising three little humans, also
I
being
actually
overseas.
I signed up like for school to do this and literally like 2 weeks later found out I was pregnant with Charlie. I was like, yo, this is going to be rough. This is going to be so rough.
You freaking did it. You
I
freaking,
did.
you
It's
can do hard things.
yeah, I can. I'm like, man. So I guess my mom-traversal moment, I have an actual moment, but I want to shout out my kids this week because so Hannah leveled up in gymnastics. She's been working really, really
Yeah.
hard. She's in the intermediate class now, so I'm super proud of her. Charlie's officially like a walking boy now. He's all of a sudden decided he's walking. So,
No, he did it.
yeah, he did. And now I've been trying to encourage him, but honestly, I've not been doing much different at all.
He was just ready.
He was just ready. Yeah, he's just decided he's like I'm going to walk now. He just finally saw how like much faster he could get places or like whatever. I mean, he's still crawling a little bit, but like he's choosing to walk places and he can officially like stand up from sitting to a standing position. And I think that was kind of hindering him for a little bit. So I'm super proud of them. Not to leave Johnny out, he's my official mom-traversal moment. Tonight when I was putting him to bed, he's like, he's in this stage where he says, I love you more than, and usually it's numbers. He'll say like 28, 11, 12. But I'm like, oh, wow, that's a big number. Thank you so much, buddy. I love you so much. But tonight he said, Mom, I love you more than a cow. Like, thank you so much. I freaking died. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, to him, I was like, oh, buddy, thank you so much. I love you too. But like, I left the room cracking up because, like, well, I mean, cows are pretty cool. So I guess I shouldn't be like thinking all like, oh, he doesn't love me that much. No, but like, that was got to be the funniest thing he's said to me all week is, Mom, I love you more than a cow. Like,
Like, where does
awesome.
that come from? Their brains, the way their brains process
I don't know.
things. I love you
Cow's
more
not even his
than.
favorite animal or anything. It's not like, Mom, I love you more than a triceratops or something. It's like, no, I love you more than a cow. I was just like,
Thanks, baby.
yes. So, he'll do big things. He'll be a CEO one day. We just have to survive it long enough for him to get there.
I feel like Johnny is a dreamer. I
Yeah.
feel like he is the creative mind who he is going to be the one who the visionary. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
He's the
Yes. Yes. Yes.
visionary is how I view Johnny
Oh,
as.
I totally see it. We walked to the little corner store in our neighborhood today and I was like, I'm on ice cream. I'm walking to the corner store. So he's like, Mom, I'll go with you. And I was like, okay. So it's just like me and him for like a good 10 minutes. Well, we're on our way back and there's like a break in the asphalt because Korean roads, if you know, you know. He picks up this rock and he's like, Mom, this is a magic rock. And I'm like, no way. Tell me more. He's like, this turns you into a dinosaur. And I'm like, really? Wow. And he's like, but it would be too powerful. And he throws it into the wood line. I'm like, okay, like we won't tell anybody about it. If nobody finds it, they won't have this really like this power that they can't handle. He's like, yeah, we won't say anything about it. And we haven't talked about it since. So I think it's our little secret. But like that's his brain. That's totally his
I love
little
him.
thought process. I love him.
I am feeling real grateful for my kids this week. And I hope that everyone listening can think about their controversial moments of something to just be grateful for their kids, because it truly is just such a blessing to watch them grow and play and develop and have those conversations, you
Yeah.
know? And yesterday we had such a good day with the kids. And we were home all day, but we had just such a good day watching Ella and Declan play together and love each other and be independent and explore. And, sometimes you're in the thick of it and you want to slam your head in a wall. And then sometimes
Big
your
facts.
kids just, that was me on Monday versus me on Sunday. Totally different people.
What a transformation you made.
I
You've grown so
love
much.
how we're able to just grow and change no matter how old we are.
Yes.
Wow. But moms, thank you even non-moms, listeners, Momtroversial family. Thank you for hanging out with us today as we have talked about military spouse life and some of the challenges that we endure. If you guys have any tips, tricks, or topics you would like to hear us talk about, hit us up on Instagram at Momtroversial Podcast. Otherwise, stay real, stay curious, and join us next week for some more bold mom talk. Until then, keep it Momtroversial. Bye.